Imagine a moment so profoundly unsettling, so undeniably, that it shatters every belief you hold. I'm going to take you through a journey, an encounter by our brother that felt like a direct confrontation with evil itself. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the unseen world and the fragile boundaries of the human mind. This is a deep dive into the moment he met true evil. This isn't just a spooky tale, it's an exploration of what that experience did to his mind, his spirit, and his understanding of humanity. This message was sent to us by a man who said he has been following our channel for a long time. He said listening to the stories here has given him the courage to finally share something he has kept inside for many years. According to him, what happened to him is something he never thought he would speak about openly, because even up till now, he still doesn't fully understand it. But he said he wants others to learn from it, and he wants people to know that when you play with certain things, even unknowingly, you may open doors you cannot close. Now, let's get to his story. Everything started on a very normal evening. Nothing special happened that day. He was not stressed, he was not sick, he was not thinking about anything strange. He said it was just one of those days where life felt routine. He came back from work, relaxed, ate, and prepared to sleep. But he didn't know that this was the night that would change the direction of his life. He said he remembered lying down, trying to rest. At first, there was nothing. But slowly, he started feeling something he couldn't explain. It was not fear. It was not anxiety. It was just a strange feeling deep inside him, almost like his spirit was unsettled. He said his body was fine, but inside him, something felt off. He said he changed his sleeping position, thinking maybe he was just uncomfortable. But the feeling became stronger. It was like a quiet warning that something unusual was entering his space. Yet nothing in the room had changed. No sound. No light. No shadow. Just this strange heaviness that didn't make sense. After a while, he said he felt a presence. And this is the part he said he finds hard to explain, because nothing appeared physically. But he felt something enter the room. He said it was like someone was standing right there beside his bed, even though he couldn't see anyone. And the worst part was that he didn't hear footsteps or movement. The presence just appeared, and he knew he was no longer alone. He said the room became extremely quiet. A kind of quiet he had never experienced before. He said even the normal night sounds outside seemed to disappear. And that was when fear started to rise in him. Not the kind of fear you feel when you hear a strange noise. This was deeper. Like something was watching him, waiting for him to react. He said he tried to speak, maybe to pray or call the name of Jesus, but his voice refused to come out. His throat felt tight. His chest felt heavy. It was like something was pressing on him, not physically, but spiritually. He said he tried to get up from the bed but his body was too weak. He was aware of everything, but he couldn't move freely. At this point, he said he realized this feeling wasn't normal. This wasn't a bad dream. He was awake. His eyes were open. He could see his room. But he couldn't shake the presence standing near him. He said he felt like this thing was observing him carefully, like it was trying to see if he was afraid or not. He said the first sign that things were getting worse was when the air in the room changed. He said it became colder, but not like normal cold. It was like the coldness passed through his skin and into his bones. He said his heart began to beat fast, not because he saw anything, but because he knew something invisible was surrounding him. Suddenly, he felt something touch his leg. The touch wasn't like a human hand. It was colder, heavier, and it sent a shock through his whole body. He tried to move his leg but he couldn't. And he knew, at that exact moment, that something spiritual was happening to him. The presence didn't speak out loud, but he felt something communicating with him inside his mind. Like a thought that didn't come from him. A thought that asked him a simple but frightening question. Are you ready? This shook him to his core because he didn't understand what he was supposed to be ready for. Ready for what? Ready to die. Ready to accept something. Ready to surrender. He didn't know. But the presence kept pressing that same message into his mind. Not shouting. Just repeating it calmly. Are you ready? He said he wanted to shout, "Ready for what? Who are you?" But fear held him tightly that even breathing became difficult. The air felt heavier and heavier. His whole body was frozen in place. And the presence moved closer to him. He said at this point, he wasn't just afraid anymore, he was confused. Because he didn't know if what he was experiencing was spiritual or psychological. But it didn't feel like something coming from inside him. It felt like something was trying to get inside him. The room grew darker, even though the light was still on. It was like something blocked the light spiritually, not physically. And when he looked in the direction of the corner of his room, he saw a shadow. But this shadow wasn't connected to anything. It was just standing there by itself. The shadow didn't have a human shape. It was just a dark mass, almost like smoke but thicker. And the moment he saw it, his entire body reacted. His skin crawled. His heartbeat increased. And he felt a pressure on his head, like something was trying to enter his thoughts. That was when he realized this thing came with a purpose. It didn't come to scare him. It came to connect with him. He said he tried to fight it, but the more he resisted, the stronger the presence became. He felt like he was losing control of his mind. He felt something pushing him to accept, to surrender, to allow it in. And the question kept repeating. "Are you ready?" He said he couldn't answer. He couldn't move. He couldn't escape. And the presence waited. Quiet. Patient. Almost like it knew he would eventually give in. And that is where he said the night changed completely. Because that question was only the beginning. Now, the moment he thought the night couldn't get worse, something happened that completely broke him. According to him, it was no longer about a presence in the room anymore. It was now something inside him. Something that didn't belong to him. Something he couldn't control. He said as he lay there on the bed, unable to move, unable to speak, the presence that had been standing near him did something he never expected. He said it felt like a force pushed its way into him. Not physically, but spiritually. He felt a wave enter his chest and spread through his whole body. The feeling was so strange that he couldn't even describe it properly. It wasn't pain. It wasn't pleasure. It was something in between, and it terrified him. Now, when that force entered him, his breathing changed immediately. His chest felt tight. His mind became cloudy. And he said his thoughts began to mix with something that wasn't his. He knew someone, or something, was trying to take control of him from the inside. The room felt darker. And the shadow he saw earlier began to shift like it was forming a shape, but not a human shape. It was just moving, like smoke trying to become solid. And each time it moved, he felt a reaction inside him, like the force inside his chest was responding to the shadow. He said it felt like the shadow and the thing inside him were connected. That was when he understood that this wasn't a random attack. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't his mind playing tricks. Whatever this thing was, it came with a purpose. And he could feel that purpose clearly. It wanted him. Not his body. Not his voice. But him, his mind, his will, his soul. He said the same message kept repeating in his head again, "Are you ready?" But this time, it wasn't calm. It was firm. Direct. Demanding. It felt like something wanted him to agree to something he didn't understand. He fought it inside his mind. He tried to push back. He said he told himself that this is not real, that he was imagining everything. But the more he resisted, the stronger the presence inside him became. It felt like it was pushing back, trying to enter deeper into his thoughts. At this point, he started shaking. Not physically, but inside. His whole body felt like it was vibrating. Like something was trying to settle inside him and make its home there. He couldn't pray. Each time he tried to think of God or even say the name of Jesus, his mind became blank. Like the presence was blocking his thoughts. And each time he tried to resist, the pressure increased. The room felt like it was closing in. And the shadow in the corner began to spread wider, almost as if it was crawling up the walls. He couldn't take his eyes off it. It felt like the shadow had life inside it. Like it was breathing. He said he tried to scream, but his voice was gone. He tried to move, but nothing worked. And the presence inside him kept growing stronger and stronger. And then, something strange happened. Just when he thought he understood what was happening, something changed. He said a voice, not inside his mind this time, but right beside his ear, whispered something he said he can never forget. It said, "You called me." He said that sentence broke him. Because according to him, he never called anything. He never prayed to anything dark. He never invited anything. But the voice insisted, "You called me." He said the moment that voice spoke, the shadow in the corner grew larger and heavier. And the pressure inside him intensified. It felt like something wanted him to remember something. Like he had done something earlier in life that opened a door unknowingly. Then images began to flash in his mind. Not clear images. Just quick moments. Times when he was depressed. Times when he was angry. Times when he spoke negative things. Times when he thought about giving up on life. Times when he asked questions like, "What is the point of life? Why am I even here?" He said it felt like the presence was using his lowest moments as an entry point. Like it had been waiting for a long time. Then the message changed again, "I've been with you for years. You just didn't notice." This shook him so deeply that he felt his spirit weaken. Because it didn't sound like a lie. It sounded like something speaking with confidence. His thoughts began to mix with fear, confusion, guilt, and helplessness. And the presence inside him began to feel comfortable, like it had finally settled inside his chest. He said the shadow moved again. And when it moved, he heard his name. Not loudly. Not aggressively. But gently, like someone calling someone they already own. That was when he realized something. The presence wasn't trying to harm him physically. It was trying to make him surrender. Not by force. But by fear. By confusion. By his own thoughts. He said the pressure inside him reached a point where he felt like he was losing control of his entire identity. He didn't feel like himself anymore. He felt like he was becoming something else, or something else was becoming him. The question repeated again, slowly this time, "Are you ready?" He said he didn't know what to do. His mind was weak. His spirit was shaking. His whole body felt lifeless. And the presence continued to wait for his acceptance. Now, he had reached a point where he felt like he could either give in or fight one last time. But he wasn't sure if he even had the strength left to fight. He said what happened next was the turning point. Because something inside him snapped, and the presence reacted in a way he never expected. That made him question his sanity, his faith, and even his understanding of life itself. And that moment takes us straight into what happened next to our brother. You see, our brother said, the moment that presence reacted, everything in the room changed so suddenly that he thought he had actually died. For a second, he didn't know if he was still alive, dreaming, or somewhere between life and death. According to him, it felt like the whole spiritual atmosphere around him snapped, as if something invisible had been holding its breath and suddenly released everything at once. He said after that sudden shift, the pressure in his chest disappeared. Not slowly, not gradually, but instantly, like the force inside him had been pulled out sharply. He took a deep breath, the first real breath he had taken since the experience began, and his entire body felt weak. His hands were shaking. His legs felt numb. His face was covered in sweat. When he looked around the room, everything felt different. The shadow in the corner was still there, but it wasn't moving anymore. It just stood still, like it was waiting for him to do something. The room felt cold, but the heaviness was gone. The presence inside him had left, but he said he knew something was not right. He didn't feel free. He didn't feel safe. He felt empty, like something had been taken out of him and replaced with a blank space. He said he sat up slowly on the bed. His whole body felt drained, like he had run a long distance or fought a battle. He tried to speak again, and this time his voice came out, but it was weak. He tried to pray, but he couldn't focus. Every time he tried to say a prayer, his mind scattered. It was like the presence had left something behind to confuse him. And for a few minutes, he just sat there staring at the wall, shaking, confused, and scared. He didn't know what had actually happened. He didn't know if it was a spiritual attack, a mental breakdown, a hallucination, or something else. But he knew it was real. Too real. He said the strangest part was that after everything, the room went back to normal. The air was normal. The temperature was normal. The light looked normal. But he didn't feel normal. He felt like someone who had stepped into another world and returned with scars that nobody could see. He said as he tried to gather himself, a strange thought entered his mind. What if this wasn't the first time? That thought shook him. Because it didn't feel like his own thought. It felt like something whispered it to him. And the moment he heard it, he remembered the voice from earlier saying, "I've been with you for years. You just didn't notice." He said that sentence kept repeating in his mind. Over and over. Until he started connecting things from his past. Times when he felt something watching him. Times when he felt sudden fear at night. Times when he had strange dreams. Times when he felt like someone was whispering his name when nobody was there. All those moments came back to him like puzzle pieces that suddenly fit. As this happened, he didn't know what to believe anymore. He didn't know if he had been spiritually vulnerable for years or if his mind was playing tricks on him. But he knew one thing, that presence didn't come for the first time that night. It came because something inside him had broken. And that thought frightened him even more. He said he sat on the bed for almost an hour without moving. Every small sound in the house made him jump. He checked the corners of the room repeatedly to make sure the shadow was gone. Eventually, he forced himself to stand up and leave the room. But even when he stepped outside, he felt like something was following him. When he went to the bathroom, he looked into the mirror, and he didn't like what he saw. He said his eyes looked different. Tired. Hollow. Like someone who had gone through something deep and painful. He washed his face repeatedly, but the feeling didn't leave. He even tried to convince himself that maybe he had a panic attack. Maybe stress caused everything. Maybe lack of sleep triggered it. But no matter how much he tried to rationalize it, something in him kept saying, it wasn't your mind. It was something else. And just when he thought the worst was over, something happened the next morning that made him realize the experience wasn't finished, it had only begun. When he woke up the next day, his body felt lighter, but his mind felt heavy. He didn't want to talk to anyone. He didn't want to go anywhere. He just wanted to sit alone. He kept thinking about the question he heard, "Are you ready?" The question bothered him so much that he felt like someone had planted it inside his mind purposely. It wasn't a question you forget. It wasn't a question you ignore. It was a question that demanded an answer, even when you didn't want to think about it. And as he tried to start his day, he noticed something strange. His room felt different. The atmosphere felt empty, but not in a peaceful way, more like something had left and was still nearby, watching him quietly. Even when he stepped outside his house, he didn't feel free. It felt like something was following him, standing behind him, moving with him. Not heavy like before, but present. He said throughout that day, his thoughts were not normal. He would think something positive, and immediately a negative thought would replace it. He would think about life, and a sense of hopelessness would follow. He would try to smile, and then suddenly feel empty again. It felt like something was trying to weaken him from the inside. Now, the biggest shock happened when he tried to pray again. He closed his eyes to pray, but his mind went blank. Completely blank. No words. No thoughts. Just emptiness. And he said in that moment, he felt a whisper inside him again, "Don't fight it." That was when he realized the presence had not left completely. It had stepped back, but it was still connected to him. Waiting. Watching. Testing him. So, he became afraid of sleeping that night. Afraid of closing his eyes. because he felt like the presence was waiting for nighttime to return. And like that, his entire worldview began to shift. He used to believe that these things only happened to certain kinds of people. He believed you had to be involved in something dark before such experiences happen. But now, he wasn't sure. Because he had done nothing. He had not invited anything. He had not practiced anything spiritual. Yet something found him. This confusion made him feel lost. Because he didn't know who to talk to or how to explain it. How do you tell someone that something entered you? How do you describe a question you had in your mind that didn't belong to you? He began questioning everything, his faith, his mind, his past, his memories. He didn't know if he needed a pastor, a psychologist, or both. He felt stuck between the spiritual world and reality, unsure which side was affecting him more. He said what happened later that week made everything worse. Because the presence didn't just return, it came back stronger, and this time, it came with something he said he was never prepared for. The week after that encounter, he realized something very painful. The real battle was not the night it happened, the real battle was everything that came after. According to him, what he went through next was even more confusing because he didn't know if he was dealing with a spiritual attack, a mental breakdown, or a mixture of both. And this confusion almost destroyed him. He said it started slowly. At first, he felt normal during the day. He would go to work, talk to people, and try to behave like everything was fine. But deep inside, he felt like he was acting. Like he was pretending to be okay. He felt like something inside him was watching him live his daily life, waiting for the right moment to take over again. Now, he tried to convince himself that he was just stressed. He even Googled symptoms of anxiety and panic attacks just to see if maybe he was dealing with something medical. But the problem was that everything he read didn't fully match what had happened to him. Hallucinations don't enter your body. Stress doesn't whisper your name. Anxiety doesn't speak like someone who knows you personally. That was what confused him the most. Because what he experienced felt spiritual, but the after effects felt psychological. He said he didn't know which side to treat. There were days he felt totally fine, and then suddenly, without warning, he would feel this heavy presence near him. It wasn't inside him like the first night, but it was close. Watching. Waiting. Holding back, but not gone. He could be sitting alone and suddenly feel like someone entered the room. He would turn around quickly, but nobody would be there. And sometimes he would hear footsteps, like someone walking slowly behind him. He said he stopped sleeping deeply. Whenever he closed his eyes, he felt like someone was standing by his bed. Sometimes he would wake up suddenly with a strong sense of fear for no reason. Other times he would wake up sweating even though the room was cold. And the worst moments were when he tried to pray. Because every time he did, he felt resistance. Not physical resistance, but a mental block. Like someone was pressing a hand over his mind, stopping his thoughts from forming. He said he would try to pray for 1 minute, and suddenly he would start thinking about something negative, or something that made him feel hopeless. It was almost like something wanted him to stop. He said the thought, "Are you ready?" became a constant echo in his mind. It would appear when he was walking. When he was sitting. Even when he was walking. It wasn't loud, but it was always there, like a reminder. This made him scared. Because he didn't know what he was supposed to be ready for. Was it death? Was it surrender? Was it accepting something? Or was it just psychological trauma replaying itself? Now he became afraid of being alone. But at the same time, he didn't want to be around people. He didn't want anyone to notice he was not okay. And this period of confusion pushed him into a deep place in his mind. He started questioning everything he believed. He asked himself, "Am I losing my mind? Did something spiritual really enter me? Is it possible for one person to experience both at the same time? What if I invite trouble by telling someone?" These questions lived in his head all day. And then something happened that forced him to choose between the psychological explanation and the spiritual one. That was, one evening, while sitting alone, he heard something walk across his room, and this time, it wasn't in his mind. He heard the steps clearly. Slow, heavy, deliberate steps. Moving from one corner of the room to the other. And that night changed everything. You see, he said when he heard the footsteps, he froze. He didn't want to turn around, but he said something inside him pushed him to look. When he turned, he didn't see anyone, but he felt the presence clearly. Not like the first night when it felt like a shadow. This was different. He felt anger coming from the presence. Like something was frustrated that he was resisting. Like it wanted him to give up. He didn't hear a voice this time, but the feeling was stronger than words. He could feel it inside him. The pressure increased again, but not as heavy as the first time. He closed his eyes and begged in his heart for strength. He said the moment he did that, the presence reacted, almost like it was offended. The air around him became colder. The room felt tighter. And he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He said the fear was so strong that he thought he was going to faint. He said this was the moment he finally accepted that what he was dealing with was not just mental, something spiritual was involved. Because no psychological problem can create footsteps, shadows, whispers, and physical sensations at the same time. But he also realized something: fear was making him weaker, and the presence was feeding on that fear. So he had to decide what to do. Was he going to keep suffering silently? Or was he going to seek help? He said he didn't want to talk to anyone because he didn't want to be seen as crazy. He didn't want his family or friends to think he was imagining things. He didn't want to be judged. But at the same time, he knew he couldn't continue like that. He had reached a breaking point. He said what happened the next night pushed him over the edge. Because the presence didn't just return, it revealed something that made him completely rethink everything he believed about life, the spiritual world, and his own identity. And that moment made him realize that he needed to do something fast. Which leads us straight into what he did next. According to him, that night showed him the true reason the presence came, and the message it delivered was something he said he has never forgotten up till today. He said after the night of the footsteps, he couldn't sleep. He stayed awake the whole night, scared that the presence would come again. He kept the lights on, played music on his phone, and even left the TV running because he didn't want silence. Silence made everything worse. But the next night, the presence came back, in a different way. He wasn't lying down this time. He was sitting on his bed, trying to distract himself by scrolling through his phone. And then suddenly, without any warning, his phone froze. The screen stopped moving. The sound stopped. Everything went still. In that moment, the room became silent again. The same silence he felt the first night. The kind of silence that feels unnatural. The kind of silence that feels like something just entered the room. He didn't want to look up, but his instinct forced him to. And when he looked, he saw the shadow again, but this time, it wasn't in the corner. It was standing right in front of him. Not close enough to touch him, but close enough to let him know that the distance between them was now gone. He said the shadow wasn't shaped like a human. But it also wasn't shapeless. It was something in between. Something that felt alive, but not in a human way. Something that looked like smoke trying to form a body. The moment he saw it, he felt weak. Like the shadow was draining his strength. His hands shook. His chest tightened. And he couldn't breathe properly. His mind was blank. Not because he was panicking, but because something was blocking his thoughts again. And then he felt it. Not a voice. Not a whisper. But a direct message entering his mind. A message that said, "I didn't come to harm you. I came to claim you." He said those words froze him. He didn't understand what it meant. He didn't understand why it chose him. He didn't understand what it wanted to claim. Fear wrapped around him like a cold blanket. And for a moment, he felt like giving up. He felt like surrendering. He felt like letting the presence take whatever it wanted, just so he could be free from the fear. But then something unexpected happened. He said at the moment he almost gave up, he heard something, a sound he had not heard in that room since everything started. He heard his own breath. Steady. Strong. Clear. And for the first time, he realized he was still alive. He said that small realization gave him a little strength. He took another breath. Then another. He then realized that even though the presence was strong, it didn't control everything. It didn't control his breathing. It didn't control his heartbeat. It didn't control his soul. And that small piece of hope gave him something to hold on to. He said he didn't pray loudly, he couldn't. But he prayed in his heart. Short prayers. Simple words. Just calling on God quietly, without forming full sentences. And he said the moment he prayed inside his heart, he felt the shadow react. Not loudly. Not violently. But like something had pushed it back slightly. When he felt that small reaction, he continued praying inside. He didn't shout. He didn't scream. He didn't use long words. He just whispered inside himself. He said the shadow began to fade slowly. Not disappear, but fade. Like something was pulling it back little by little. The pressure in his chest reduced. The coldness reduced. The heaviness reduced. And for the first time since the entire experience started, he felt like he had a little control. He said the shadow finally moved back into the corner. It didn't melt away. It didn't vanish. It just separated from him and stood at a distance. And then he heard the last message, the message that has stayed with him until today. The message said, "You escaped today. But you opened the door. And doors don't close by themselves." Then, the shadow then sank slowly into the floor and disappeared. He sat on the bed for almost 20 minutes before he could move. His whole body felt sore, like he had fought a physical battle. His mind was shaking, but his heart was beating fast, and the fast heartbeat reminded him that he was still alive. After that night, something changed in him permanently. He said he no longer saw life the same way. He no longer played with his emotions, his thoughts, or the spiritual world. He realized that fear is a doorway. Despair is a doorway. Hopelessness is a doorway. Weakness is a doorway. And he realized he had been carrying those things for years without dealing with them, and something used that weakness to enter his life. He said he didn't tell anyone for a long time. But the experience made him seek God sincerely. Not because of religion. Not because of fear. But because he realized that there is more happening around us than we see. And that pushed him to take his mental health seriously. He talked to a therapist, not because he didn't believe in the spiritual part, but because he wanted to make sure his mind was healthy too. Slowly, he started gaining control of his thoughts again. He started sleeping better. He started praying again. He started feeling stronger. But he said he still remembers the message, "You opened the door." And because of that, he said he lives carefully now. He watches what he thinks about. He watches the kind of emotions he holds onto. He watches the things he gives attention to. And he has learned that the spiritual world responds to the smallest things inside us. He said he decided to send this story to us because he wants others to be aware. He wants people to understand that the battles we face are not always physical. Some battles begin inside our minds, and if we are not careful, they create doors that things we don't understand can enter through. And according to him, his journey is still ongoing. He is better. He is stronger. But he said he can never forget the night a presence asked him, "Are you ready?" And he said his answer today is different. He is ready to protect his mind, his spirit, and his life from anything that tries to claim him again. Thank you for staying with us through this story. This was a very deep and personal experience that the sender went through, and it reminds all of us that life is not only physical. Sometimes the things we face inside us can open doors we don't even realize. And if we don't manage our thoughts, our emotions, and the battles we fight alone, we may find ourselves dealing with things we never expected. Our brother doesn't want anyone to go through what he went through. And that is why we decided to bring it here. To remind us to take care of our minds. To take care of our spirits. And to pay attention when we start feeling things that are not normal. If there is one thing we can learn from this story, It is this: don't ignore your inner battles. Don't allow fear, sadness, loneliness, or hopelessness to grow inside you. These things create cracks. And sometimes, those cracks open doors. Whatever you are facing today, don't keep it inside. Talk to someone. Seek help. Pray. And take steps to strengthen yourself. Because sometimes the first attack starts quietly, in the mind, before anything spiritual appears. And to our brother who sent this story, thank you for trusting us. Thank you for allowing us to share your experience so others can learn from it. If you are watching this and you have a story you want to share with us, or you've gone through something unexplained, unusual, or spiritual, you can send your message privately. We will look at it, and if you give us permission, we will share it here. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Stay strong. And always guard your mind and your spirit.